Hello, today we're going to work on the Bose 901 system. We're going to replace the foam around the cones. The foam is pretty famous for having an issue where it dry rots, and that's very common on most Bose products, including the Bose 901s here that we'll work on today. You'll see we have the kind of angular cabinet. This is actually the back of the cabinet here. As you can see, these are the 8 speakers on the back of the cabinet here, and on the front we have one more speaker. So we have 9 speakers total per cabinet to do the repair on. Total of 2 cabinets, so we have 18 speakers to repair. So it's a bit of a job, but certainly doable if you take your time and pay attention to the instructions. We can get you through it. This is what the driver looks like out of the cabinet. It's kind of a unique plastic speaker. It has a 3-hole mount on it. The speaker itself is a 1 ohm speaker. It actually reads about 7/10 of an ohm if you read it with an ohm meter. In this case, it's a special design where those speakers are wired together to provide an 8 ohm load for the amplifier, and it's pretty typical of the way Bose designed the 901 system, and we see quite a few of these come in for repair. So that's what that looks like. When we get back, I will show you how we remove the grill face off the back of the cabinet, and then the grill face on the front of the cabinet here. We'll go ahead and get those removed for you and show you how that works, and we'll get started. Alright, so we'll start with the back grill, or the rear grill on the 901, which is the angled one. This is where the 8 speakers are. We showed you earlier in the other cabinet that we had here. And this grill is basically hot glued in place in a couple of spots. Underneath you can feel where the grill flexes. The grill frame is made out of plastic on these, so you won't damage it pressing on it there. You'll find a couple of hard spots, top and bottom about in the middle, and a couple of spots in here, and that's where they've placed a little bit of glue. It's not real difficult to remove. Your best bet is to just kind of come in and kind of give a pull to it right up here on the trim ring to the port, and you'll see that once you get that kind of started, it'll come up rather easily for you. You can kind of hear the glue separating there. You don't want to put a screwdriver or anything between the edge of the cabinet. You may damage the wood there, so we like to just kind of carefully do these by hand. Just take your time, and you'll see that the glue starts to come up. There's a couple of spots here. Sometimes they're a little harder than others, but just take your time with it and they'll come up. You'll see the glue kind of stretching there. Just kind of break that with your hand. And that's what you have. You have some hot glue spots that are left here from when they put the cabinet together. You'll see the spots on the cabinet where those are attached. And at this point, the rear grill just gets set aside. We'll just leave that alone until we're done. You'll notice the 8 speakers on the back. We'll be doing the foam cleaning on those here in a little bit to show you how that works. And then we'll flip the cabinet over and we'll show you how the front grill comes off, and this one's actually stapled in place, so this one takes a little bit more work. So when we come back, we'll show you how to do that. Alright, now on to the front grill. These are a little trickier. What Bose has done here on the series, late series 2s, 3s, and 4s have the curved grill like this. There are 3 staples along each side, about a ½ inch in from the wooden edge that you'll see on both left and right sides of the grill. If you have a Series 5 or perhaps even an early Series 6, they have a wraparound grill that runs down the side with aluminum trim in here, and they have 3 more staples along the sides that have to be dealt with as well. So a total of 6 per side on the Series 5 and early 6s. On the common ones that we see now, which are this version, you'll have the 3 per side. And if you have trouble finding those, you can usually just take a flashlight, and you'll see that you can find the heads by looking closely along the edge. The staple heads will be buried right in the fabric here like this. They're a little bit difficult to see, but they are there. They're metallic, they're a little bit shinier than the fabric, so you can see them pretty easily once you get some good light on them. And what our goal is here is to remove this without damaging any of the wood trim on the cabinet. And the way to do that is to actually work under and remove the head. And we'll use a hammer and an awl or an ice pick, awl, whatever you want to call it there, and that'll pop that up, and then we can pull the staple head out. The staples are about a ½ inch long. So I'll show you how to do that. And the way to start is to find the first head, which we found back here. We'll take the awl like this, and we'll come in right under the head like this from this side, staying away from the wood trim on the cabinet, and just a light tap like this with a hammer, and you'll see that the head starts to pull up easily at that point. We'll come back in again and do it one more time. That worked underneath. Being careful not to damage the fabric. Takes a little bit of work there, but it's not too difficult if you take your time with it. Do it one more time. That lifted up, and you'll see that the head is now released, and you can see the staple head here at this point sticks up about 1/4 of an inch. We'll just pull this right out, and that's what you've got. So you've got 6 total to do, and we'll do those one by one. We'll show you a close-up of what one of those looks like up here in the corner, and then we'll remove the rest and show you what the front speaker looks like. Alright, so we'll finish up. We removed the 3 on the far side over here. We have a couple of left here on this side of the cabinet to deal with as far as the staple removal goes. We'll go ahead and get that done. I'll start up here with this middle one here, which I've already kind of got most of it out of there. And again, we just want to be careful with that. That pulled up. You'll see the staple there is about 1/2 inch or so long. Pretty small head on that. That's how they install them, so it does make it a little bit tricky to get them out without damaging the edge of the cabinet. We want to be very careful with that. If you try to pry or put a screwdriver in here or something like that, you're going to really nick up the edge of the finish of the cabinet, and you know, we want to avoid that. So the last one will be right here by the Bose logo. We'll come in on that with the tip of our awl, and we'll just work that down very carefully, working underneath the head of the staple with the awl. Kind of pull that up. You'll see how it pops right up there. At that point, you can carefully get your pliers, just kind of pull that out, and you are done. Now we can go ahead and get the grill removed. Just kind of pull on the logo. Actually, it'll take it right up for you, and you'll see that we have exposed one more speaker here in the middle. With the foam rot that we're describing there, and you'll see how that's broken and torn, just barely touched the material and starts to come apart there. And that's what we'll work on cleaning. At this point, set the front grill aside, and we'll get back to that later. And we are good to go on that. The next step will be the cleaning of the drivers in preparation for the installation of the new foam surrounds, or the new cloth surrounds if that's what you purchased. Alright, so we'll go ahead and start with our cleaning now. We've removed the grill. We showed you how to remove the front grill with the 3 staples per side, rear grill with the 8 speakers on the back. We'll start here on the front since we've already got the front driver exposed. And the best thing the first thing you'll notice here is, of course, you have the dried foam. Most of this will just kind of fall apart just to the touch. You can see how dry it is. Yours may be worse than this. It might not be quite as rotted as that. That's fine. We'll do a little bit of cleanup here, and then once that's done, we'll do a little shop vac work on it, kind of suck up any of the pieces that get behind the cone there, so that that's not all sitting in between the speaker frame and the cone, and that's always a good idea as well. So if you have a shop vac that you can use, that's helpful. If not, a little compressed air. Just be careful around the cone with the compressed air, or the vac for that matter. It's fairly delicate. It's a very lightweight cone on these particular drivers. So you can use either a utility knife like this, or what I like to use is a chisel, not a real sharp point on it, just something to help kind of scrape the material. The frame is plastic, and you'll notice we'll start kind of here, just give you an idea. You'll see how that comes right up on the frame pretty easily. Any extra pieces you can kind of just set aside for now. We'll get those with the shop vac here in a little bit. And we'll work these frames one by one, keeping in mind you have 18 of these to do, so it takes a little bit of time. You just want to really be careful with it, not to slip, damage the cone. You'll find on the frame that it's not really required to use the rubbing alcohol or lacquer thinner as a cleaning solvent, although you can if that makes it easier for you. We find it easier here in our shop just to do them dry like this on the plastic frame. These little pieces that come into the cone are okay. That won't hurt anything. We take our time with this. Come all the way around. And the plastic really makes it easy. Plastic frame makes it easy for cleanup. And I'm just kind of holding this at an odd angle here. Hopefully the camera catches that for you so you can see exactly what's going on with the repair. can turn the chisel sideways a little bit if needed as well, kind of get into the corners. And that's what you want. Again, you'll be doing this 18 times, so you'll need to set aside a few hours for this project to get these done properly. Okay, now you'll notice there's a little residue on the cone, of course. That's the foam, just like it was on the frame there. Whatever's left, you'll see is fairly dry and deteriorated at this point. The best bet here is to take a little rubbing alcohol or lacquer thinner and dampen that onto paper towel, fold it over itself a few times, works well. And you just want to get the edge of the cone dampened with that, and it'll act as kind of a lubricant for you to help you remove what's left of the old dry foam. And the rubbing alcohol does not hurt the cone. So if you get a little bit on the cone, no worries. This will clean up easily for you. So you get a nice wet cone edge now with the rubbing alcohol, and that's what you want. Let that soak in for a few moments. And again, we like to use the chisel tip carefully on the cone here, and you'll see how that residue just comes right up. Little by little, right on the blade, or right on the tip of the blade there is what you're looking for. And that's the old foam coming up there on the cone. And again, just very carefully take your time on this, no hurry. Alright, so we're done with all the cleaning. We showed you how to clean the one speaker. Basically, you duplicate that procedure on all the rear drivers. This is the front speaker, of course, on the Bose 901 repair that we're doing. I want to take a quick minute and show you a couple of different kit options that we have for these. We do have the original foam style kits, which come in 2 stacks of 10 in the bag here for you. We give you 20 surrounds in the kit just in case you need a couple extra for whatever reason. You'll have those. This is typically what we install, but some customers also prefer the fabric edge kit, which has 1 stack of 20 in it here. They're a lot thinner apart, but they install and function identically to the foam kits. Of course, they're a treated fabric, so they don't deteriorate. They last forever, which is a bonus for some of our customers that are looking to keep their Bose cabinets for over another, say 20 or 25 years or so. They may want to consider this option, which is the fabric kit versus the original foam. Both kits will come with 2 tubes of glue. 1 tube of glue will fix all 18 speakers. We've tested that. We know that to be a fact. We supply 2 just in case you need it, but we find that if we give you too much glue, sometimes it gets a little sloppy, so you want to be very careful with that. You should end up with one brand new unopened tube when you do your 901 repairs if you're doing them following our directions properly. But you will receive 2 tubes in your kit with instructions, and then either type of kit that you decide to go with will apply to the Bose Series 2 through Series 6, foam or fabric. And when we come back, we'll go ahead and show you a close-up detail of the gluing. We'll show you how to apply the glue properly and how to center the speaker. We've done the majority of the speakers on the back of the cabinet already for you, and we'll show you finishing up the front one and one more on the back one, and then you'll be done. Alright, so we'll show you now how to go ahead and get the foam surround attached to the cone in the frame. And as we mentioned earlier, it's a lot easier to do the Bose drivers right in the cabinets. Don't take them apart. It makes your life a lot easier. You don't have to unwire, disconnect all the wiring and rewire everything, which requires soldering to do properly. And we've come up with this method, and it works perfect every time. So we recommend you go this route with it, whether you're using the foam edge or the fabric edge kit on it. And what we do is we have the new foam edge kit. This is the detail of it here. You'll see that it's what we call an M roll, or a double kind of a hump roll surround here. And the best thing to do is just kind of look at the fit of the foam on there. You'll see how it sits on there nicely, just like the original part did, of course. And the thing to do here is we'll flip the foam edge over, and we'll actually just set it on the speaker upside down at this point. Just as a comparison, if I show you what the fabric edge looks like, if you're doing the fabric edge kit, you'll see that it's the same idea. Same thing, lays on the cone perfectly there, just like that. Pick the edge up, lay it upside down for glue application purposes, and it makes your life a whole lot easier. When we do this particular customer is requesting we use the foam kit, so we're going to go ahead and show you the foam kit installation. The fabric kit is identical, just a different material on the surround. So what we'll do is we'll lay the surround upside down on the cone. You have your adhesive. You take your tip off of your adhesive there like that. You want to squeeze the adhesive from the back of the tube. That's important so that you get a nice even control of the dispensing of the glue. And you'll notice right in here, matter of fact, we use a coffee stirrer to help with this as well, so I'll use this as a pointer. Right in this groove here is where we want to apply the adhesive, kind of in this V-shaped area right here. We want to apply a nice bead of glue right in there because that corresponds to this exact outer dimension of the cone right here, and we want to make sure we get a good grab of adhesive right around that edge, and that prevents ticking of the surround to the cone. So we want to make sure we get a good bead of adhesive there, and the way I'll do it is I'll usually just start right in one spot. We'll apply a nice even bead like this all the way around right into the V groove. You don't need to worry about getting it to the bottom of the inside edge so much. It's more important to make sure that you have that groove filled with adhesive, and that is exactly what you want right there. Pick the foam surround up and just hold it out of place. We're going to go ahead and apply a bead of adhesive right to the frame. We're going to glue the frame and the cone together in one step on this. This makes the repair job go a lot quicker and makes the repair job a lot easier to do. So we'll flip the surround over. It has wet adhesive inside the groove where we showed you. Just kind of get it in place with your fingertips. You'll see a little bit of glue start to come out along the edge of the cone. That's what you want. That tells you you have enough glue kind of in place there to attach to the cone properly. Just work it around a couple of times. If you get a little bit of extra glue out there like that on the cone, that is okay. You can take just the tip of your finger and just kind of wipe that up a little bit and press the surround down into it. Better to have a little bit of extra glue there than not enough. So we want to make sure that we get that set in place properly. It takes a little bit of time for the adhesive to dry, start to kind of tack up for you. You're applying the parts together while everything is wet. So go ahead and do that, and we'll work this around several times for a few moments. And again, you're going to be doing this 9 times per cabinet, so this takes some time to do. You want to take your time with it and allow several hours for your project here to make sure that you get everything done properly, nice and clean, so that you have a good outcome on the repair. We'll let that set up for just a little bit. Probably about 3 to 4 minutes of set time on this, and then I'll show you how we deal with the frame area here and the centering of the voice coil. Okay, we've waited a few minutes to let the adhesive kind of set up here to the cone like we discussed with you earlier there, and you'll see that now the surround is starting to attach to the cone. It's not moving as much. What we'll want to do here on the 9-on-1 driver, it's really easy to center these things properly, especially since you're using the adhesive that we supply in the kits. You'll find that you can kind of rock the driver side to side like this, front to back. Pretty normal stuff on any type of speaker design that you see out there. This is just a smaller speaker, so some customers get a little nervous about that, but it's not difficult at all. So what you want to do is just kind of give a little pressure downward like this. Usually I'll give a little more downward pressure on the side with the lead wires here, and that pretty much will center the cone mechanism perfectly for you every time. You can see by the design of the driver here that I have one removed that you can't get behind the cone to lift the cone anyway with your fingers or any other type of mechanisms typically, or tools. So it's best in this case to go ahead and just do them right in the cabinet like we've explained to you several times there, and just work the surround into the cone. At this point the adhesive's already been applied to the frame as you saw in the instructions earlier, and at this point I like to kind of work downward on the cone, and then I like to use just a coffee stir stick. Works perfect for pressing the surround down into the adhesive on the frame. Really works well. You could use the edge of a utility knife if you prefer, or something else like that. Sometimes your fingers are too big to kind of get in there properly, so it's nice to have a little tool like this. Coffee stir stick like this, popsicle stick would work as well, I suppose. But you'll see what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of pressing the surround down into the adhesive on the frame, and you'll notice that it starts to stick down very nicely. When we press on the cone, there's no lifting of the foam around the cone at all. I'm just kind of showing you this as I'm exercising the cone to show you what's going on here. We're nice and centered. We can give a little pressure on each side of the dust cap with no rubbing. That's exactly what you want. If you find that you're getting a little rubbing one side or the other, you can give it just a little bit more pressure one way or the other by kind of pressing your coffee stick this way and moving the surround a little bit. It takes a little bit of work, but it's not hard. You just need to take your time and pay attention to your gluing, and you'll be fine. And in this case, this driver is pretty much ready to go. You'll see that at this point the surround is no longer lifting from the frame, which tells us we've got a good adhesion bond there. We'll want to let the speakers sit once they're done for a good half an hour to an hour before we put them to use with the signal from the amplifier. But in this case, that is exactly what you want. Nice and even and centered there. Perfect. Nice clean repair. And we're going to go ahead and we'll flip the speaker over and do the last driver in the system for you to show you what that looks like. We've already done all of the drivers on the back except this one here, and you'll want to find something that's pretty helpful to prop the cabinet up with. I'm using just some rolls of masking tape here to do that, so you have kind of a level surface to work on here, and it makes it nice. So what we'll do is we'll just do this last one to show you how that's done. The other ones, as you can see, have already been done. When we exercise them, they're all centered properly. Very easy to do. Again, use your tool, use your stir stick, your coffee stir stick. That works very well for that job. So just like the one on the front, put it on upside down. You'll see how it fits when you set it in place. It sits on there perfectly. Flip it upside down to apply the adhesive. That's what you want. Getting the adhesive into the groove of the first roll of the foam there, which is what we do. So we'll come in here like this, run that bead all the way in the groove of the foam, which is what you want. Lift the surround, just hold it off to the side, don't set it down. At the same time, you're working this hand to apply the adhesive to the frame, just like that. While everything is still wet, you flip the surround back over and attach to the cone. Cone first, don't concern yourself with the frame at this point. Even though there's adhesive on there, you have time to work it, and that's not a problem. Get a little bit of glue there, you can usually pick that right off. It's no problem, there you go. There's a little bit extra there, we'll just kind of wipe that away while it's still wet. And you can hear the coil in there kind of moving around because we haven't centered it yet, and that's fine and that's normal, okay? Once the surround and adhesive start to set and bond together properly, you'll find that it's smooth, that process goes much more smoothly for you as far as centering the coil. So don't worry about the fact that it's kind of moving around at this point and that you think it might be off center, because it will come into place automatically for you as long as you pay attention to what you're doing with the gluing here and allow the proper setup times with the adhesive. So we'll let this set up, we'll get this one finished up, and then we'll show you the installation, the reinstallation of the grills, and then these will be done. Alright, so we're going to finish up here. We've let this sit a few minutes just like we did on the one we showed you on the front of the cabinet. Just want to give you one more example of kind of how the centering of the cone and the surround work together for you. Once the adhesive starts to tack up, that becomes Much easier to deal with than when the cone and surround or the frame and everything is still wet. So at this point you'll see, again, like we showed you on the front, you've got movement forward, backwards, front, rear, left, right, whatever you want to call it. And in this case, you just really want to make sure that everything is centered properly here and that you're not gluing to where we're getting this action happening here with the surround. So really it's your job just to make sure that while the adhesive is still wet, you don't want to walk away from this for too long while everything is setting up, that you want everything to center up like this, so that you get smooth movement of the coil, and that's, you know, obviously very important with any type of edge replacement you do on a speaker. So at this point we're good. I'm going to go ahead and use my stir stick. We'll just kind of tap down directly on top of the foam, just like this. Works very well. Okay. Check our centering again, and we've got it nice. You give it a little pressure on all 4 quadrants of the dust cap, no rubbing. That's what you want. That's perfect every time. Okay. So we'll let this kind of dry up. You'll see the surround again is starting to tack to the frame nicely. After a few minutes, that's what will happen. And your drying times will vary depending on the temperature and humidity of the room that you're working in. We've got the fairly dry air in here today with the air conditioning. If it's a little more humid, it may take a few more minutes. So just keep an eye on that. You'll have to get a little feel for that depending on where you're working in the house. If you're out in the garage and it's summertime, it may take a little bit longer. If you're in an air-conditioned basement area or something like that, or you have some fans running, it'll be faster for you. Once you practice on the first 1 or 2, you'll kind of get the feel for it, and the rest will flow nicely for you on that. As you can see here, everything's looking good. Always kind of keep checking the centering as we're working, making sure that it's where it needs to be. Once it starts to set, it won't move. It won't move off of center in any way to cause you a problem. If you feel that it has, you can always use your stir stick here to kind of push the surround in the direction that you need to go to pull the cone a little bit. And we'll let this dry up, and then we'll be ready for the grill installation once this tacks up. We've got a little bit more time on this spot right here. So we'll let that dry up, and we'll finish it up, and then we'll come in and do the grills, and we'll be good to go. Alright, so now we're done. Showed you all the drivers, how that kind of works there. We did the last one for you here. We had already kind of done these off of camera. You didn't need to sit there and watch us for 2 hours, do all of those. But we've got this one done. We show you how the centering works. The front driver is done as well here. Okay, so everything's good to go. Now it's just time to kind of snap the grills back on. At this point, what you can do is you'll notice the glue points here on the original setup for the grills. I like to just put a little dab of adhesive. You will have enough extra adhesive from your kit. It doesn't take much, just a little bit there. And this is mostly just to kind of help hold it. I mean, the grill is removable, so you don't want to go too heavy with this. Just a little dab on each tab, just like that, is fine. Okay? Then you'll take your grill like this. Usually take a rag, kind of wipe out the inside of this area before we put them back on. Just kind of lift up on this. There's a groove over here that fits into on this side along here. Same thing on this side. Sometimes you lift up on the trim ring there, and then you press down. Okay, and you'll hear the grill make contact with the glue points on the cabinet or on the baffle there, and that's what you want. That's what it needs to look like when it's done. Okay, and that'll dry. You know, then once that's on there, that's not going anywhere. It fits in the grooves on the side. For the front grill, what I like to do is I'll usually, we've removed the staples, of course, from the original grill. You'll see the grill fits in here. You've got the logo here, the little logo mounting tab fits on the back there. So the grill pretty much just kind of sets in place. But we find it helpful to put a little bit of a corner of Velcro on each corner of the cabinet, like this. That way, if you ever need to remove the front grill again, you can without having to deal with staples. So if service is ever needed in the future, or if you just want to take the grills out to kind of dust everything off and keep everything clean, you can do so much easier this way. So just put a corner of Velcro tabs. Self-stick Velcro tabs work great. One on the corner of each section of the cabinet, and then one on the corner of each grill, which you may not be able to see me doing, but I'll just describe it to you. It's pretty straightforward stuff. That. So we want the corners of the Velcro here on the grill like this. We've got it mounted to the cabinet here, and then we'll go ahead and just set it in place. A little pressure like that. Clean off any dust or lint on the grill, and you are done.